here we are again for another date night movie discussion. And wouldn't you know it, it's another superhero movie. Avengers Endgame!
Endgame! Another movie done and dusted. The last one.
Well, they say it's the last one.
For this stretch, it's the last one. I think anything more that they make is going to be a new thing.
Yeah, they're going to keep making more, but it's definitely going to not include this main cast, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be all the other characters that are now back from the snap. It's going to be their time to shine from here on out. Would you like to describe the plot for us at all?
Well, it comes back after everyone's been dusted. And everyone's real sad about it. And so then they try and track down Thanos. And Thanos is all like, I destroyed the stones, so you can't do anything. And then they just go into mourning for 5 years. And then Ant-Man comes back, and he's all like, I worked it out! I know how to time travel! And so then they do time shenanigans to make everything right in the world again. What were your first impressions of it?
I feel like we should just have a spoiler discussion. There's literally no way of discussing this movie properly without spoiling the entire thing for everyone.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, I can't really say much about the plot. Like, already saying that there's time travel is a spoiler. First impressions are difficult to gauge for me because this movie was a lot. And I totally get why it was 3 hours. There's so much fan service and so many callbacks jammed into the plot. Like, the entire plot itself seems to revolve around being like, hey, remember this Marvel movie? Yeah, I remember that Marvel movie. But then they combine that really well with moments that fans would clearly love.
I thought overall it was a pretty average movie.
I think taken on its own merits as a film, if you looked at the plot, this
it's
is...
pretty basic.
Yeah, well, not only is it basic, but this is pretty mid-tier Marvel. Like, it has an opening act that's really predictable, and then a second act that's way too long, and then it has a third act that culminates in them battling an underdeveloped villain, which feels really weird to say because the villain in the final act is Thanos.
And we've seen him be a well-developed and powerful character before.
He feels really lackluster and underwritten in this movie. That's a follow-up to what was essentially his movie.
I think it was just very average. But, like, it wasn't an unenjoyable movie. It was just average. It was fun. It wrapped everything up.
It's a movie built around payoff.
Exactly.
And I think that's why you go out thinking, I have a sense of satisfaction from this film. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And it's all very well put together, I feel. And then it has the final act, which is just a very long battle that involves every character ever from the Marvel Universe coming together to beat the shit out of one villain and his army.
Yes.
And it's so spectacular that it's like, this is what we came here for.
It definitely makes you leave on a high note.
Exactly. When we were doing the time travel stuff and all that, like, it did feel a bit like middling, a bit like there's no real obstacles or conflict outside of their own ineptitude, really. Although I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy the second act. It's just...
They were standing around and talking through their plans an awful lot.
Yeah. Overall, as a whole, this is the best way to wrap all of this up.
Oh, definitely. I could not imagine another way to bring an end to this era, pretty much.
Yeah, because it was very deliberate that they made the decision that basically everyone who was left alive were people from the original Phase 1 movies. We started with them, so let's do a movie that wraps up all of them individually and gives all of their arcs like a concrete place to go.
Yeah.
And it manages to do, I want to say all of them in a satisfying way.
The large majority.
Yeah.
In saying that, are there any characters or actors that surprised you?
At this point, every one of these actors can do these roles in their sleep. There's no point talking about them or the characters.
Exactly. And, like, this movie in particular, it's the end of 11 years.
Yeah. It did feel with that final battle that happens. There were so many nods and references to comic book panels in that moment that my brain was like, when they wrote this scene, or at least when they were storyboarding it, their thought was, this is our chance to give fanboys everything we couldn't give them previously. And I really loved all of that.
Yes, there was that one shot though that I really didn't like, and that was in that final battle where they have all of the female superheroes standing behind Captain Marvel. And I know what they were trying to do, and yes, it's good that they acknowledge the fact that, you know, females aren't necessarily focused on in their movies. But that shot made no sense, and it felt like they were doing it just because they needed to.
I think it's still, like, an empowering shot overall.
If you take it out of context, yes. But in context of all of the 22 movies...
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And the fact that they don't even show them really fighting together, even after that shot, they just throw in this shot and just leave it at that. Whereas if they'd used that idea and been like, okay, let's have this moment where all of the female superheroes come together and work together... That would be great. If they wanted to do it better, they should have done it in a bit more of an action way. Because then that drives the plot as well, rather than stopping mid-battle to be like, and women. Gold star for us!
It's very transparent in what it's doing. It's the culmination of all the other movies.
Exactly.
It's only satisfying as a conclusion to this saga.
It did have its fun moments.
I really enjoyed geeking out about all this stuff. It was like, remember this, remember this. There were so many moments where I was like, kind of giggling to myself and being like, oh yeah, cool, that's all there.
It wasn't just to yourself, mate.
It's the best possible version of an ending for this franchise.
There's no other way that you could have ended it, really.
No.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank Endgame?
I rank it as the ultimate nerdgasm. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate Avengers Endgame?
Every man in his Groot.
Thank you for watching the show. If you enjoyed, please let us know. You can like and share, subscribe if you dare, and please leave a comment below.